Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, we tell you that we care with a gift basket of corporate synergy. It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I am joined, as I am always joined, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. We've got a good show for you today. We're going to be talking about the news from the week, including a copy of Super Mario 64 selling for $1.5 million. And then on Thursday, we're going to be awarding Nintendo characters some yearbook superlatives. I almost got through the whole thing. But Mark, in the meantime, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Patrick, you know how our tastes change as we age, our palate changes. So
you're talking physically, like our mouth tastes.
Yeah, and something that you liked a lot, you start not liking, or something that you didn't like before, you start liking a lot. And I feel like the hope always is that it's going to be like something, your tastes change, and so you're like, well, I didn't like Beats before, but I really love Beats now.
This is not Beats again, Mark.
No. Okay. Oh, no. It's not. I can't become that person.
Example.
I can't become that person. No, for whatever reason, but you always hope it's going to be more refined. Like, you're going to wake up one day and you're just going to be like, man, I really love the taste of snails now, or something. And mine has been recently French toast. I cannot get enough French toast. And I don't know why. I never really liked French toast that much before. And now it's all I think about. I throw off the covers. I'm thinking about French toast.
Right,
do I have a French toast deficiency?
I mean, you might. That might be your body's way of telling you that you need to get more French toast. Let me ask you this. Are you getting it out at a diner or a restaurant, or where are you getting your French toast fix?
Well, I'm not, sad to say, I'm not eating French toast that often. Just kind of craving it. And
so you're just not getting it? Do you make your own French toast?
No, I don't.
What is happening? Does Clement make your French toast?
No. I mean, when I go for breakfast or brunch, then I'm my eye is on that French toast prize. But other than that, I'm too lazy to make French toast myself.
Mark, okay. When I get back in town, I'm gonna make you some French toast, okay? Speaking of things we have to wait until I'm in town to take care of, my copy of Sonic Forces, would you like to borrow it? You can certainly try. All you gotta do is email us at Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com and give us a mailing address, one that I can mail to, that I can send my copy of Sonic Forces there. Send it to Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com. And did I do it twice? I did it twice.
I wasn't paying attention.
Look, you borrow my copy of Sonic Forces for as long as you want. You send it back. It costs you nothing. It is the perfect borrowing program.
The other thing you can do is you can leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. It helps us so much. It makes sure that Patrick and I are in sync when we're going to do an @gmail.com. All the important things that you care about in this podcast. Providing a 5-star review or favoriting us or doing whatever you do to let the world know that you like this podcast, that you listen to this podcast. Yeah, scratch that. You don't even have to like it, just that you listen to it. Maybe you hate listen, but doing that, it helps out the show. It helps us a bunch, and we really appreciate it.
Mark, are you implying that we messed up that @gmail.com because someone hasn't reviewed us when they should have already?
I don't have to imply that. The implication is
it's just out there.
It's just out there, yeah.
We got an email from a listener named Mark. It's not you, Mark. The subject of the email is Epona, and he writes, "Hi, Patrick and Mark. Loving the show as usual, and I really enjoyed your ranking of the best Nintendo animal companions. I just wanted to let you know that in Breath of the Wild, you can get Epona without naming a random horse. I used my Twilight Link Smash Bros. Amiibo. Once she is in the game, you can then stable her and then summon her whenever you like. Her stats are always maxed out, but I'm pretty sure you can't get her without the amiibo. Keep up the great work. Your shows are the highlight of my week. Mark. Thank you, Mark. That's very sweet of you to say. And what a great point. As we were talking about Epona, and like the reason that she is so high on our list, I won't say where she ends up in case you haven't heard it yet. It is the like emotional connection that we had to her. But I think we were a little fuzzy on the details around how she appears in Breath of the Wild, and so it is good to have someone say, "Hey, here's how it happens."
Yeah, that's really cool. I genuinely did not realize that you could get like Epona in Breath of the Wild. So that's really cool. Great game just keeps getting better.
or a great game was always good. We just forgot great things about it.
Right. Yes. Yes.
All right, Mark, let's get into what we've been playing this week.
So I have not had a ton of time to play games this week. Sadly, Dragon Quest XI-S Echoes of an Elusive Age Definitive Edition remains
I knew it was too good to
deferred.
be true. I knew it was too
And what
good
am I
to be
going to
true.
do with Skyward Sword coming up? I don't know. I'm having a crisis right now because I haven't had a lot of time to game, but Skyward Sword is on the horizon, and I feel an obligation to myself and to you, Patrick, to play Dragon Quest XI-S Echoes of an Elusive Age Definitive Edition for the Nintendo Switch. And so it will be done. I don't know how, but I can have it all. I'm like Liz Lemon on Sandwich Day. But what
that's right.
did have time to do is I watched some of the speed runs or replays of the speed runs from Summer Games Done Quick from last week. And one that I really want to draw people's attention to is Blindfold Mario 64 run. It was a 70-star run, which means that got 70 stars and beat Bowser blindfolded. The runner is Bubsy. It's like an hour and 45 minutes.
Wow.
It is amazing, amazing, amazing. They set a personal best for themselves. Like, it is such a cool run. I believe that Bubsy ran this maybe a year or so ago, maybe in AG, like Awesome Games Done Quick, and it was like a 35-star run. But this is like he beats the game. It has great commentary. It is seriously incredible. I'll include a link in the show notes. I highly suggest people check it out. It's really, really cool.
That's so cool. I know we touched on it last week, but blindfold runs of 3D games are always like mind blowing. Like they just the amount of how you orient yourself in a three-dimensional space without being able to see it. Like I know there are some audio cues. I assume he had like headphones on, so he could really like tune into. Were there a lot of those like running Mario up against the wall and then like jumping and kicking to move him back a certain amount of space?
Yeah, it's a lot of that where it's like exactly what you're saying, like using audio cues to realize where you are, and then like listening to music for like cues and all that kind of stuff. In the commentary, they were saying that out of the 120 stars in Super Mario 64, there are blindfold run strategies for 118 of them, and so when like the last two are like it's like they're both like 100 coins in 2 levels.
Oh yeah,
and
sure.
But once that is done, then like at some point somebody can attempt like 120-star run, like a full game blindfolded. Said it would take, like I can't even imagine how many hours to do that run. But it's so incredible. Like everybody should check it out. It's so cool.
Oh man, that's awesome. I forgot that a bunch of those stars are collect 100 coins in the level. That seems impossible to do blindfolded.
It's wild. It's so amazing.
So I've also not had a ton of time to play games this week as I was sort of preparing to go on vacation, which is where I'm coming to you now from vacation. I'm in Wisconsin this week. But I did on the plane, instead of traveling with my Switch, I am just traveling with my 3DS, which is something that I like to do from time to time. It is easier for me to just like throw the 3DS in the bag and not really think about it. And it's smaller. I have a new 3DS, but it's not a new 3DS XL. It's like the regular size. And so just like being more compact, like really carries a lot of weight for me in this scenario. But I realized that with my 3DS with me, I had a sort of great preview sort of look into Nintendo's fall. because games that I'm very much looking forward to are, of course, Metroid Dread, and WarioWare Get It Together. And I have WarioWare Gold on my 3DS, which is sort of a collection of all the greatest hits of WarioWare up into the point that we are like now with Get It Together, sort of like coming into a new age of WarioWare, right? Where you have like your little avatar characters on screen making all the micro games happen. And then of course Samus Returns, which is developed by the same company that is developing Metroid Dread and seems to share a lot of like graphical similarities to it, especially like in design. But the WarioWare Gold is just an absolute masterpiece. There is no better playing game in my mind, except of course possibly for Pocket Card Jockey. But just like you distract yourself for 4 seconds and then another 4 seconds and another 4 seconds and eventually the plane is landed. WarioWare Gold is a godsend. I love it. But the thing that got me super excited playing Samus Returns again is that the game, while being like a very like fun and capable port and upgrade of the Game Boy game, does such a great job in its storytelling. Like it is clearly invested in the sort of mythology that's either in the instruction booklet for the original Game Boy game or sort of like implied in everything else. That like they have these little cinematics before that are like still frames and like the writing is really good. And then just actually within the game and on SR388, Samus's acting is really good. Like they animate the characters, like the way she discovers stuff, the way she's like frightened by some things and sort of like confidently defiant in the face of others. Like I think Mercury's theme just has a good handle on that character and on like communicating her both with words and wordlessly. It got me so much more excited for Metroid Dread just to remember how good Samus Returns is.
Yeah, that's really cool. That I don't really remember that from Metroid Dread or Samus Returns, and that makes me want to kind of like go back and replay it before Metroid Dread. Of course, after Dragon Quest XI Echoes of an Elusive Age Definitive Edition for the Nintendo Switch. But yeah, and also that's interesting that what you mentioned about it, like Metroid Dread's going to be both a sequel to all the Metroid games that came before it, but more directly like
Yes.
a sequel to Samus Returns. Yeah, I feel like there is so much. There feels like previously unseen hype for a
Yeah.
Metroid game with Metroid Dread, but it also feels like the weight of the expectations on it are really, for it to be something like spectacular, are like really high as well. And so hopefully everything comes together because everything we've seen looks really cool so far.
Yeah. Well, and like I guess that it always has me a little worried when expectations are so high for a game. But I do think that like we would all do well to remind ourselves or each other that Metroid games are almost always like great in a super chill way, right? Like that there's not going to be like a moment in it, with very rare exceptions where there's like the end of Super Metroid, for example. But like otherwise Metroid is just like a great gameplay experience with like a cool aesthetic, and like it does that better than anyone. But like it's like low key great, if that makes sense.
Totally. I think where the I don't know, not uh these experiences are completely different, but it does make me think a little bit of like Rise of Skywalker in the sense that like
Hmm.
there's like they are saying beforehand part of the marketing is like, hey, this is
Yeah.
the end of like this part of the story. And those are weighty expectations, right? To like bring that sort of like Samus his
Yeah.
relationship with the
Totally.
Metroid to like a satisfying end. And yeah, I am hopeful. Everything we've seen looks really fun.
I mean, just so long as she doesn't like turn around and say that her name is Samus Skywalker, like I'm fine.
I'm Samus. Samus
Samus
Metroid.
She takes the Metroid's last name. All right, so that's what we've been playing this week. Let's get into the new releases and what we might be playing next week.
Today, July 13th, Worms Rumble is released on the Switch. So I believe we've said this before, And in the
We have,
early
yeah.
days of the show, there were when the Switch was like new, there were a lot of eShop like shenanigans where release dates would come and go. And I feel like as the Switch has matured, that has become less of a thing. And so there's two possibilities here. One, that this release date changed from when we talked about it before, but I don't think that's the case. What I think this is that the digital edition is on the eShop and has been for a few weeks, and then this is like the physical release coming out.
They got to coordinate those things, man. Release them at the same time. You don't need two launches.
But of course, this Friday on July 16th, The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD is released. And I actually saw a video from Nintendo Life this morning on YouTube talking about how, like, one of the quality of life updates that hasn't been talked about, or at least a change in the game from the Wii version that hasn't been talked about, but you can see in, like, the preview videos that are beginning to come out from the beginning of the game, are that when you're playing with motion controls, the camera has full range of motion tied to like the right joystick, so it acts basically just like kind of like Breath of the Wild's camera.
Oh,
Wherein
yeah.
as in the Wii version, you could only reposition it using the like Z button, and so it
Right.
would
Z
always,
targeting style.
yeah, it
Yeah.
would like snap behind Link, but that was it. Now, if it's possible, we don't know yet, or at least as of this recording, I do not know yet, if when you're not playing in motion controls, because in the non-motion controls for Skyward Sword, you use the right stick for Link's combat. And so we don't know, like, is there like a button combination you pick to be able to move the camera freely, or does it just use like the Wii style Z targeting? But that's a big
Yeah.
change for the game. Plus, all the other quality of life updates. Plus, in the videos that we've seen from the beginning of the game, they've removed a lot of dialogue boxes that used to stop you. So it seems like there are more refinements to this game than even Nintendo has been talking about. So I'm really interested to see what the full reviews are like. But I mean, I'm playing it regardless because I've never played
Yeah,
this
totally.
game. And so, yeah, I'll be picking up Skyward Sword HD. Also coming out this Friday are the Legend of Zelda Joy-Con set and then the Zelda and Loftwing amiibo that have the Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD functionality.
And I've got the Zelda and Loftwing amiibo coming to me. I've got them pre-ordered. Mark, you still have those Joy-Cons pre-ordered?
So I had them pre-ordered, and then
Uh-huh.
I got an email reminder from Best Buy being like, "Hey, you have these pre-ordered. I'm getting ready to move." And so it was like, do I really need to spend $90 on a set of
Right.
Joy-Con that I like covet but I do not need right now? My Joy-Con right now are functioning totally fine. And so I canceled it because I decided it like the
Wow. Wow.
momentary
Wow.
happiness of like receiving the Joy-Con, I'm not going to do anything with them. And so I'd
Well,
rather put
you're gonna play Skyward Sword with them.
I don't think I would. I think I'd probably leave it in.
What?
I know. So no, I canceled the pre-order. That's like $90 I'm going to put towards
Yeah.
something else. So it was tough to do because I like, like
Yeah.
you want them to be able to like show off and stuff, but I decided not to.
Let me ask you this: as we are approaching the release of Skyward Sword HD, are you planning to play it with split Joy Cons and the motion controls, or are you going to try to go at it with the dual thumbsticks?
My intention is to play it with motion controls.
Yeah, mine too. Because like I know it is technically a solution and probably technically the only solution that makes any sense, but I don't really think that controlling Link's sword with the right thumbstick is going to be satisfying or intuitive in any way. Like
Yeah,
what game do you play like that where you're using the thumbstick to attack? Like that doesn't make any sense.
and I also feel like, and maybe I'll change my tune if once I start playing it, I'm like, I really dislike this. But when we were doing our E3 rewatch back in
Hmm.
2020, and we watched the reveal of Skyward Sword, and yeah, like the combat as shown off, like the demo wasn't that great because they were having like technical difficulties, but you can tell like the whole point of that game was designed around like those motion controls, like combat and everything is that
Yeah.
way. So I figured I might as well give it a shot, and if I end up disliking it, maybe I'll switch to the button one and see if that fits better for me.
Yeah, and I mean, of course, we're both going to be wearing our green tunics and like long green hats while we play this, and like march around our apartments like we're little heroes of time.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's with the blinds up and for God and everyone to see.
Yeah, that's right. Um, yeah, I'm not going to do that in my apartment for myself. All right, Mark, let's get out of the new releases. Which brings us to a regular segment on our show. It is time for 433. In 1952, American composer John Cage wrote a piece called 433, wherein a performer or group of performers didn't play their instruments for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. For the purposes of this show, our instruments are talking about Nintendo. So, for the duration of one performance, 433, Mark and I will talk about something not at all Nintendo related, thus fulfilling the contract of the piece. We are taking a suggestion from Dominic, sent to us for our 433 episode. Thank you, Dominic. Dominic writes, what are the first things you would buy if you won the lottery? Mark, I mean, I think you have just done one of the things that I would do right away if I won the lottery, which is I'd buy a house in LA.
I know. Uh, yeah, 100%. I mean, can you even imagine winning the lottery? Like, I can't. Like, I genuinely can't even imagine
Yeah.
like what that would feel like. It
Yeah.
seems like it would be so like you'd be elated, but I think it would also be super stressful.
Stressful, yeah. Well, I mean, there are tax implications, so you got to figure those out. Although, if you just won the lottery, I think you hire someone to figure that out, right? You're going to
You would
need a money guy.
you
Yeah.
would think so. You would, but then how do
Yeah.
you find a money guy that you trust?
Mm,
That
great
isn't just
point.
going to like take advantage of or like
Well, you need someone who knew you before you won your money.
That's right. Everybody becomes friends with CPAs right now.
Otherwise, you wouldn't do it. No. One of my best friends is a CPA. So, yeah. Okay. Other than like a house. Oh, okay. I would also. I would get. I really like the army style Jeep with like no top on it, like a 1960s 1970s Jeep. I would get one of those, and I would get it like converted to like a hybrid engine or something, because I would feel bad about using the gas. But I would get that so I could drive around Southern California in just all of the exposed side glory. So that would be an early purchase for me.
Yeah. Do you know I feel like you can like I feel like our aspirations are so
Attainable.
yes, no, but like in like a good way, but it's like
Yeah.
like you have like Jeff Bezos and Richard
Richard
whatever's
Branson
yeah,
in
like
space.
being
Yeah.
like, oh, we're gonna like shoot ourselves into space. Like that's how much money they have. That's how rich they are. That they're like, oh, like these like things that like normal people would be like, oh my gosh, I'd be able to buy a home. They're like, no, I'm trying to get into the solar system. Like I want to get out of here.
But they also those guys are so rich that like winning the lottery wouldn't be a boon to them, right?
No.
Like it wouldn't be like Jeff Bezos. Doesn't he make something like $60 million? I mean, it doesn't matter. He makes so much money
Yeah.
that winning the lottery would be like an accounting error for
Yeah.
him.
But I mean, yeah, like the things I would do with lottery winnings would be exactly that, where it'd be like, yeah, I would like, pay off a mortgage. I would buy a car. I would, like just like all that kind of
Right.
stuff. And then with like the
Set
rest
up a
of
bunch
it,
of charitable donations. Yeah.
right. Yeah, exactly. It's like I don't even man, how wonderful it'd be to be like mad scientist rich.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that would be good. Like frivolous things. What kind of like frivolous things would you buy? Would you hire a French toast chef or anything like that?
I would try to be no, that's the thing is I'm not very fun. I don't think I would do that. I think I'd become like miserly is what I worry about, that
Mm,
I'd be like, "Oh my gosh, like I have this money, I don't want to lose it." I think one thing I would do is for sure I would like travel the world. Like I
yeah,
would, go to all the places I have wanted to go, like, like Antarctica or and all that kind of stuff.
we would see the Columbo statue.
Yes. Oh my gosh, finally.
It's the only way is we got to win the lottery.
I would finally buy all seasons of Murder She Wrote on
Yes,
DVD, so I
yes.
could own it forever. In case they took it off of Peacock, I wouldn't have to like pay for the subscription.
Yeah, definitely not going to just like subscribe to a bunch of stuff. That no way. I'm only making physical purchases. I feel like I would blow some serious money on like rebuying a Virtual Boy and the Virtual Boy
Mm.
library,
Mm-hmm.
um, just because it is a piece of Nintendo history that I feel has like. Oh no, I'm talking about Nintendo. Oh, and that is, of course, the end of 433. We were accompanied today by my girlfriend Sarah, who is in the room, being very quiet for 4 minutes and 33 seconds.
And I feel like this is the perfect opportunity to remind listeners that if you want to do your own recording of 433, that includes applause at the end, we will 100% use it on the show
Yeah, totally. Email it to Nintendo Cartridge Society at
at
gmail.com.
gmail.com.
See, someone reviewed us in the meantime, so that's why that one worked. Um, but yeah, just make sure there's applause at the end. And if it's just you, that's fine. If there's applause from a bunch of people, even better. All right, Mark, let's get into the news.
So last Tuesday, Nintendo revealed the much rumored Nintendo Switch OLED model for release this October. We talked about it in more detail last Thursday's episode. So if you haven't heard our thoughts on it and are dying to know, you can go check that out. But one thing that we didn't touch on, there are actually, I guess, like two things that we didn't touch on that I would like to comment on now. One thing is the first thing is that the Nintendo reiterated that the OLED model will use the same Joy-Con as the existing model, and
Mm-hmm.
the reason there was some sort of I wouldn't even say it was speculation or rumors. It was more just wishful, like hoping from people, is that of course like Joy-Con drift is still a problem. So it is disappointing that Nintendo isn't taking this opportunity to like fix the problem.
Yeah.
Nintendo doesn't, they've never really comment directly or try very hard to not comment directly on the Joy-Con drift problem, partly because there's a class action lawsuit going on over it. So even if they did redesign the Joy-Con for the OLED model, which again, there is like a 99.99% likelihood that they did not. But if they
Yeah.
did, they probably wouldn't even acknowledge it because they would have to then acknowledge that there was like a problem, which I don't think they want to do.
Yeah, and I think if they ever even do address it, like in the release of a new style of Joy-Con, that won't be the marketing beat behind it, right? The marketing beat will be like, this is the Joy-Con Mark II, and it'll need to have some other additional functionality. Um, Otherwise, because they're never ever going to put one out. It's just like they're never going to call a Switch Pro. They're never going to release a Joy-Con that is like now without Joy-Con drift. Never going to
Yeah,
happen.
tother There'll be a new sensor in there. Maybe the heartbeat
Mhm.
sensor will finally make its way into a
Ooh, the
Nintendo
vitality
product. The
sensor.
vitality sensor. The other thing I want to mention that I neglected to on Thursday because I didn't think of it then is that uh, we didn't talk about the fact we kind of determined where we came down on the new OLED model is that if you're buying a Switch for the first time, it seems like a good upgrade or at least something to heavily consider. But if you are upgrading, if you're thinking of upgrading from like a Switch that you already own, like a regular Switch, not a Switch Lite, like it's harder to justify, or at least for me, that's where I came down on it.
Yeah.
But one thing that was pointed out online that I hadn't really considered is that you and I both have launch models, and so
Right.
before the 2019 update that Nintendo did to the like internals of the Switch, and what that did is among other things, it increased the battery life by like 3 or 4 hours, and so this does in that way make like a better upgrade case if you have a launch model Switch like we do, because like you're also getting like a big battery life increase amongst other things. So just another thing to consider with it.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting that like that first time in 2019 was like an incredibly like micro update to the Switch, and then the OLED model is another like kind of micro update. But like you put two micro updates together, and you're like, oh, I mean, like that's actually is an upgrade from the model of Switch that I currently have. Still tricky to justify the added cost. But I don't know, like I I just like sitting with the idea of it and of those sweet white Joy-Cons and the white dock. Like, I don't know. I've been wavering on my I don't need that. Now I'm like, do I need that?
I mean, what can I say? It looks cool. And I'm eager to get my hands on one. I'm eager to like
Yeah.
see it in person. The thing is, I just don't play my Switch that often in handheld mode when it comes down to it. But yeah, I mean, the siren song of those white Joy-Con, hard to resist.
Yeah.
EA has confirmed that the Switch will be receiving FIFA 22 Legacy Edition in October. So basically, just like
Hmm.
the last 3 years, this version is based on the PS3, Xbox 360 version of FIFA and doesn't get the same content or features as the newer titles. But at least it's only $40 according to Best Buy instead of like a full 60.
So it's just like in previous years, like it's just a roster update, basically.
Yeah, seemingly. I don't know if if they've done other like gameplay updates, but
Yeah.
for the like it doesn't have story mode or I'm sorry, I can't remember what that kind of stuff is called in FIFA, but it doesn't really have any of that. It's just a really bare bones just like soccer simulator basically.
That's pretty depressing. I mean, especially seeing that it's the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 versions, like that's 2 generations back at this point, which feels unnecessarily stingy on the technical side, but I guess they know what they want to actually invest in the Switch infrastructure.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things where I know we've had at least one game running on the Frostbite engine now, like that Plants vs
Hmm.
Zombies game that came out is running on a modified version of the Frostbite. But I that was always the reason at least EA gave, for not bringing the more modern versions to Switch, and so I'm sure that continues to be the case. Nintendo subsidiary Monolith Soft reported a record profit last year. For the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2021, they recorded 1.171 billion yen, and for comparison, the year before was 491 million yen. So they had a banner year. Of course, the year before, I can't recall if they released any games. This year, um, but in fiscal year 2021, they released Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition that we know sold 1.32 million units its first month. And I don't think we've had a sales update since then. But that feels like a strong performance for Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. And so after the success of this and Xenoblade Chronicles 2 did really well for Nintendo and Monolith Soft as well. It kind of seems like Xenoblade Chronicles has quietly become kind of a major
Yeah, like a
franchise for
main. Yeah.
Nintendo.
Yeah, well, and I guess so. I was just trying to place Torna the Golden Country in there because that came out um, September 2008. So I guess that wouldn't have been in the previous year; would have been in the year before.
It might have been in the first half of the fiscal year.
Yeah,
Somebody back that out and figure it out for us.
I googled it and like looked up the date, and I was like, "All right, great. So that tells me what?"
Well, okay, let's see. If this fiscal, I think we can do this.
Yeah,
The 2021 fiscal year ran from like April 1st, 2020 to March,
right.
and then so that means the 20 fiscal year ran from
What
March.
2019 March,
Uh-huh.
right?
So it wouldn't have
So
been
no, it
one.
was before. It was the year before.
We did
Yeah.
it. We did it. I
Yay!
think if anybody can correct us, feel free to write in.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's that is a series that I stubbornly keep trying to connect with and never do. We got some good advice at the beginning of this year about how to just like mainline Xenoblade Chronicles the definitive edition. Put everything put everything on easy mode and enjoy the story basically is and auto battle and all that. Um and I keep this is my Dragon Quest 11, I think. That like a game that I keep putting off going back to, but promise that I will someday.
Well, maybe we'll try to keep ourselves honest on that. I don't know how.
Okay.
I don't know how.
Right.
But
After Skyward Sword.
yes.
And then after Metroid Dread.
If you're a collector or even just looking to pick up some older games recently, you've probably noticed that prices for vintage games have just been like exploding recently. And the speculation in like video game collecting.
This seems like an unrelated trend. This one, what we're about to talk about, but go ahead.
Well, it's like the speculation in collectibles has just it's been affecting like everything. Like, you know, we saw it with the with Pokemon cards, with sneakers. Like it's just become like a new area for speculation. And so this past week there were not one but two record-setting auctions for video games. So
Wow.
first, last Tuesday, a copy of Legend of Zelda for the Nintendo Entertainment System set a new price record when it sold at auction for $870,000.
That's so much money. I would not buy that if I won the lottery.
According to Kotaku, quote, apart from a single sealed copy from the game's very first production run, this is billed as the earliest known copy of The Legend of Zelda in existence at this quality, distributed for just a few months in late 1987.
Which is cool. Like there is something. What I like about this is that it is a like rarer or older printing of the Legend of Zelda, and that it's in exceptional quality.
So keep that in mind. That was Tuesday, $870,000. So just a few days later, on Sunday, a sealed and pristine copy of Super Mario 64 was auctioned off for $1.56 million.
This one I can't wrap my head around.
It's just kind of unreal. Again, from Kotaku, quote, it was given a 9.8 rating on the Wata scale. As a result of this high rating, Heritage Auction says that it's just one of fewer than 5 known sealed copies in such incredible condition.
But so like sit on that for a second, because it's just that it's in good shape. It's not that it is of like a rare printing or there's like a misprint or anything on it. This is essentially identical to the copy of the game that I purchased from Target in 1996, and that I forced the cashier to open the other box because it was trying to tell me I could only buy Pilot Wings, and I was like, no, I am not leaving this Target with Pilot Wing 64 on the day that the Nintendo 64 comes out. I'm leaving with Mario 64. It's that exact same product that I bought. That I then opened and ruined by playing. That sold for $1.56 million.
It's totally crazy. And yeah, I don't know if maybe it was like, I don't think there was anything like particularly special about it. But I don't know if it was like a specific printing, like first run or something like that. I don't know. It just seems unreal. Like
Yeah.
I would love to be that sort of rich where you're just like, and for fun, I'm just going, like I'm going to
Right.
start collecting like video games.
This was brought to my attention by a tweet from Chris Kohler, who was saying that he was waiting for the day when a video game cartridge would finally sell for over $1 million. But at $1.56 million, that's like shattering that barrier, right? Like it's so much money.
And finally, in the sure, why not class of corporate synergy, Nintendo and Edible, also known as Edible Arrangements, have teamed up on a Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and Super Mario promotion. So starting this week in the US and Canada, you are able to purchase Mario Kart 8 Deluxe themed edible arrangements. Allow me to share some great moments in copywriting from the press release with you, Patrick.
Please.
Quote, for a midsummer Nintendo Switch party spectacle, why not splurge on the new Rainbow Road arrangement? Like its acclaimed Mario Kart course namesake, this arrangement features a dazzling array of colors comprised of fresh pineapple coins and stars, swizzle rainbow berries, grapes, and melon. If you'd like to make somebody's birthday feel extra festive, the Cookie and Fruit Power Up Birthday Bundle features dipped fresh fruit, pineapple stars, cookie sandwiches, and a Super Mario themed birthday balloon. Or when you need to make a grand gesture, nothing says I care quite like the vibrant Flower Cup Fruit Flowers bundle. If you'd like to see the full suite of sweet-natured Nintendo-themed gifts, glide on over to Edible's website. Plus, Edible offers the convenience of same-day and free next-day delivery. End quote. Truly, I could not have said it better myself.
Right. Well, I want to go back to, you have it highlighted in our show notes, but the or when you need to make a grand gesture, nothing says I care quite like a vibrant Flower Cup Fruit Flowers bundle. Is this like a condolences edible arrangement? What's happening here?
I think the beauty of it, the genius of it, is that it's multifaceted. It's like, I care that your cat died. I care about you, so let's get married. I care that you are sick. Really,
I care that I called you Kristen when your name is Christian. Like, that's these kind of like, I care about you.
Exactly. Like the Flower Cup Fruit Flowers bundle is versatile, and I think that is the dream for any edible arrangement.
Mark, let me ask you this as well. When did edible arrangements change their name to just edible?
Oh yeah.
Is that inviting controversy?
Dude, it feels to me that we are mere months away from it being like condensed even further to just being like EDBL.
Yeah, that'd be pretty good. Also, has anyone done edibles arrangement? Because that should be some weed company should get on edibles arrangement.
Of course, all snark aside, your birthday's coming up, Patrick. And
it's true.
Genuinely, this would be the perfect gift for either of us.
Yeah, this is a great point. I mean, we both had a moment of like, should we get these Cold Stone ice cream treats when they did a Mario Kart like tie-in? So I don't know. Look, we're suckers for this sort of thing. I'm sure we will get one of these delivered during a record or something. And I mean, the Power Up birthday bundle actually does sound great, right? Dipped fresh fruit, pineapple stars, cookie sandwiches, and a Super Mario themed birthday balloon.
I mean, yeah, it really is perfect. Like, nobody's poo-pooing the quality of the birthday bundle.
No, plus, like, you ever get an edible arrangement, they're wonderful.
Look, we love edible arrangement. So round of applause for everybody involved in this.
All right, Mark, let's get on to the news. Okay, that is going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Thank you for joining us for it today. Please remember to rate, review, and follow us on Apple Podcasts. If you like the episode, you can share it on Facebook or Twitter or wherever you share stuff. We appreciate it when you do that. It is literally the only way people find the show. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Patrick_Ellers. Mark is at MKE Mitchell. And the show is at Nintendo Cart Society. You can also check out our Facebook page, which is just Nintendo Cartridge Society. Olivia Duncan made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers saying thank you for listening.
My name is Will Hines, and I am a ghostwriter, meaning I write other people's books for them. And I have a podcast called I Will Write Your Book, which are recordings of my meetings with my eccentric clients, such as a woman blocked after one sentence of a children's book about her dogs, a romance novelist who dislikes sex, and a man proud of having sampled everything in his local grocery store. This podcast has been described as fully improvised, played by some of the best comedians on the planet Earth. Hey, that's pretty good. That's I Will Write Your Book on Campfire Media.
Campfire.